Oh, hello. Oh, I just did a little play there. I hadn't realised you were all here. This is my first have and go at recording a story. So I thought I would. Oh, hang on. This is purple, isn't it? We'll just leave that over there. So I thought what I would do is start by doing a Mr. Men story. And if it works and we can get it up and people see it, then we can maybe do one every day. Or sometimes we'll do a Mr. Men story. Sometimes we'll do a Little Miss story. Maybe we do what do you know? Altogether there are 50 Mr. Men stories and 36 Little Miss stories. So I guess that makes it about 50, 60, 70, 80, that's about 86 stories altogether. So I don't know if we'll get to read all of them, but we can give it a go, can't we? So I thought we'd start today then with a Mr. Men story. So I've got them all up here in my library. I've borrowed these from the school. Now we need to make sure we go from the right end, don't we? Because we did start reading some of them. So what I'll do is, let's see if we can find from the end here. Mr. Small and Mr. Brave. I think we've done those, haven't we? So probably start from the other end and see what we get. Okay. So what I thought I would do, since you are all experts at the Mr. Men stories, we'll first of all see if we can work out who it is the story is about. And today's story, he looks a bit sad. He's not Mr. Sad, but he looks a bit sad. So he's very round. He's very round, and he's very blue. So have a little think, see if you've worked out who it is. Then maybe another clue. So he's very round, very blue, and he's got a very bright red nose. And if you haven't got it yet, he's got frown lines. So he's got lines all across his face, a bit like mine, really. Look like that. There we go. They're in there somewhere. So do we know who it is? For those that haven't worked it out, we're going to have Mr. Worry. And he does look worried, doesn't he? Actually, a lot of people are worried at the moment. So maybe this is quite a good story. And maybe we'll find out ways that if we are worried, to stop being so worried. We'll have it a go, shall we? Let's see what happens. Okay. So the story starts, poor Mr. Worry. Whatever happened, he worried about it. If it rained, and you can see in the picture there, it is definitely raining, isn't it? If it rained, he worried that his roof was going to leak. If it didn't rain, he worried that all the plants in his garden were going to die. And there's a daisy there, which actually looks perfectly all right to me. I don't think it's going to die, do you? Well, it does look quite hot there. A bit like it was yesterday. Today was really quite cold. But, if he set off shopping, and if you notice, most of the Mr. Men go shopping at some point, don't they? If he set off shopping, he worried the shops would be shut when he got there. When the shops weren't shut when he got there, then he worried he was spending too much money shopping. There's always something to worry about, isn't there? We've been worrying a bit whether there'd be enough carrots. Mrs. Barton does like her carrots and her broccoli. And so we go to the supermarket and we think, what if there isn't any broccoli? But we've been all right so far. When he got home with his shopping, he worried that he'd left something behind. We don't like that's really annoying when that happens, isn't it? Or that something had fallen out of his basket on the way. Which he probably hadn't. But when he got home and discovered he hadn't left anything behind, that nothing had fallen out of his basket on the way home, then he worried, have I bought too much? Should I have left something behind? And then he worried about where to put it all. Have I got enough cupboards? Shall I put it on the shelf? Shall I put it over there? There's so much he was worried about. Life was just one long worry for poor Mr. Worry. And it can be like that, can't it, sometimes? I think sometimes we have to think, well, what can I worry about because I could actually fix it? And if I can't fix it, then I won't worry about it, which is a much more sensible way of doing it, isn't it? So if it's going to rain, shall I worry about it raining? Well, no, because I can't stop it raining, can I? Anyway, one day he went for a walk. He was worried that he might walk too far and not be able to get home. But on the other hand, he was worried that if he didn't walk far enough, he wouldn't get enough exercise. He hurried along, worrying. Or you could say he worried along hurrying, which is a bit strange, isn't it? He worried along hurrying. I suppose he did. If he was worrying all the time, did he hurry as he worried? Did he worry as he hurried? I don't know. He met Mr. Bump. And we all know Mr. Bump because Mr. Bump is always covered in bandages. I'm very worried about you, he said. Well, why is that, said Mr. Bump. I'm worried that one of these days you might hurt yourself. Oh, don't you worry your head about that, replied Mr. Bump, and he went off, tripping over his own feet. Mr. Worry went on, so now he's worrying about other people, not just himself. He met Mr. Noisy. And you remember Mr. Noisy, he's bright red, and he's got these huge shoes on. I'm very worried about you, said Mr. Worry. Why is that? Asked Mr. Noisy. I'm worried that you might lose your voice, said Mr. Worry. Oh, don't you worry your head about that, said Mr. Noisy, and off he went, clump, 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 because everywhere he goes he makes lots of noise, doesn't he? Mr. Worry went on. He met Mr. Greedy, and you remember Mr. Greedy, he's that sort of pink colour, isn't he? And with a rather large tummy. I'm very worried about you, said Mr. Worry. Why's that? Asked Mr. Greedy. I'm worried you might eat too much and be sick, explained Mr. Worry. Me, replied Mr. Greedy. Eat too much? Impossible. And he went off for lunch, or probably 2 lunches. Mr. Worry went on. He met a wizard. We know the wizard, don't we? Hello, said the wizard. Who are you? I'm Mr. Worry. Well, and you look it, commented the wizard. Tell you what, he went on, for he was a very helpful sort of wizard. In fact, he usually fixes things, doesn't he? Why don't you go home and write down, it's interesting, isn't it? Write down every single thing that you're worried about, and I'll make sure that none of those things ever happen. That's a good wizardy thing, isn't it? He smiled. And then you won't have anything to worry about, will you? Mr. Worry smiled. It was the first time he'd smiled in a long time. And there you can see him, look, smiling in the picture. In fact, actually, it was the first time he'd smiled that year. He hurried home in great excitement. When he got home, he sat down to write out all the things that worried him. Every single thing. Can you imagine? Can you imagine what a long list that would be? And then he went to bed and had the best night's sleep he'd had in years. Following morning, the wizard came round to collect Mr. Worry's list. And there it is, look, on a very long piece of paper. It looks like a whole roll of toilet paper, which means you could use it for something else, I suppose. My goodness me, he said when he saw the size of it. However, he said, leave it to me. I'll go off and I'll make sure that none of these things ever happen. And off he went. Nothing to worry about now, he called over his shoulder. Nothing at all. And Mr. Worry heaved a sigh of relief. And that day was the first day in Mr. Worry's life that he didn't have a single thing to worry about. And the next day, and the day after, and the day after that, on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday and Sunday, he didn't have a care in the world. And there he looks like he's on springs. He is so happy, isn't he? Not a care in the world. But on Monday morning, he was a worried man. Oh dear, what do you think was worrying him? Can you guess? I don't know. Was he worried about it being Monday? He went to see the wizard. "Oh dear," said the wizard when he saw him standing on his doorstep. "What's worrying you?" "I'll tell you," said Mr. Worry. "I'm worried because I don't have anything to worry about." And he went home to worry about not having anything to worry about. Well, I think that's a really good idea. If you've got lots of worries, what you can do is you can write them down, can't you? Write them down in a list and think, well, I'm going to put that list away because I've written it down and it might never happen. And what we find is that most of the things, I'm just putting it back in the box over here, most of the things we worry about actually never, ever happen. Sometimes I come into school thinking I'm going to read to all the children, and I think, what if I forget any of the long words? But I don't think I ever do I, to be honest? Okay, I hope you have enjoyed Mr. Worry. I hope none of you have anything to worry about. And I hope, I'm worried now because I've got to try and load this onto the system so that you can all see it. So I'm worried that that might not happen. But we'll see, won't we? And if it does happen, then we're all right. And if it doesn't happen, then I'll have to find a different way of doing it. I do hope you enjoy it. I think you can probably put comments underneath, can't you? You could say if you enjoyed it. You could tell me if there is a particular Mr. Man or a particular Little Miss story you'd like me to read. And if you have got brothers and sisters who would like other stories, particularly older brothers and sisters, why don't you suggest other books that I could read? Because I might try and read Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, because I started that. So I know a lot of the Year 1 children would like me to finish that. So I'm going to see if I can fit that in as well. I could spend all day reading stories, couldn't I? Which would make me very happy. Okay, so that's the end. I think we agreed that it was a green one, wasn't it? So that was good. So we got the green one today. I have got the possibility I might be able to find the red one or the yellow one. I'm not sure which it is, but we'll have a go and we'll see if we can find it. Always a pleasure reading stories to you. I hope you enjoyed. Talk to you very soon.